What the rest?
Sí, in English.
In English. Okay, so
Now we go to my grandfather.
yeah, okay. Okay, so we have to go to my grandparents' island. We have to take the little ferry, the little boat, and I'll show you how to do it.
Please repeat this.
I will show you how to do it. We have to take the little boat to the island, and yeah, it's a little bit complicated. Turn this. So about him. Well, he's 85. 85. That's why we can't go inside. Had a very interesting life. He will want to tell you. Ooh. Okay.
Sí. ¿Dónde vive tu abuelo? Cuéntame.
Just two houses.
Pero, ¿qué es este lugar? Vení, Leo.
It's an island.
He lives on an island.
Yeah. He lives on an island, so we're on an island now. And everyone here is, yeah, you have to take a boat to get to the mainland. It's very short. Wow, it's very beautiful. Okay, so this next house is the house of my grandfather. And okay, so here. Okay. Hello, how are you? I have with me two Argentine filmmakers. What can we do? An elbow? Or?
Oh, sí. Bueno.
Ajá. Y habla español.
¿Está bueno?
Muy bueno, muy bueno.
Malbec de Argentina.
10 times the price.
Well, probably.
Yeah. You're looking very well.
Well,
I've missed you a lot.
well, we've missed you too.
Sácalo si quieres. Ok.
And then you can see everything with the camera. The light's okay. La luz está bien.
Muy bien, muy bien.
In English.
In English.
In
Sí.
English.
Mi nombre es John Bazalgette.
English.
Oh, sorry. My name is John Bazalgette. As Frank has probably told you, we come from a very famous English family. Have you explained?
No, I didn't.
We are a very famous English family because our relative, 150 years ago, built all the sewers of London. When you go to the toilet, remember us.
Do you understand?
Uh,
So where are we?
Estamos en
In English.
In English, we are in Teddington, which is a town by the River Thames. My family have lived here for 50 years. He doesn't want you to see the. My family have lived here for 50 years, and Frank's father and his uncles and aunts all grew up here, so they learnt to swim, to use the boats, to go in canoes, and so on. And this is an island with the river all round us.
¿Qué es lo que más extrañaba de su familia?
What do you miss most about your family? What have you missed most?
Him.
So
No, it is not. It is very good to be like this together, and because we have good parks here, I see at least one or two members of our family when I go for a walk in the park. I walk about 8 kilometers once or twice a week with a member of one of my sons or daughters. So I see them, but being able to take time, sit down, have a meal, have a joke and laugh, get angry with each other, have a big argument, all the family life stuff is very difficult. You can't have an argument on Zoom. You have to be nice all the time. But one of the difficulties is there are always going to be difficulties in a family. when things go wrong, people have got upset with somebody else, and in the way things are at the moment, because we're not in close contact, a simple argument can quickly become pushed upwards, not just between the two who want to argue, but between across the whole family. Because we are a family of about 30 or so. When you get the argument going around like in a sort of pinball machine, it's very difficult.
Engagement photograph.
It's beautiful.
I can send.
Engagement one, that's the marriage. And this is the product of the marriage. This is when we got engaged, betrothal, the marriage. Then these are this is our eldest son, that's Frank's father. Our second son, our second daughter, our youngest daughter, that is Frank's father. Our youngest daughter, one of our grandsons, youngest daughter. Our second son, our first eldest daughter, second daughter,
This,
Frank's mother
my parents, Miss Patton.
at their marriage.
Beautiful pictures.
Yes. And this was made by one of our daughter's husband, our son-in-law.
And how long have you been married?
60 years
60 años maridos.
this year.
This year. Is the diamond, is it, what is it, golden?
That's right.
Diamond.
It's perfect. Thank you very
Okay.
much.
Decirle que te hable un poquito más.
And what do you do in the Christmas habitualmente?
What do you usually do for Christmas?
We go to one of the families and we have stockings in the morning. We open presents. Then we have a big Christmas dinner, turkey, roast potatoes, Brussels sprouts, lots of wine, and then we play games, silly games, to make people laugh and be happy together. And then at the end of the day we fall fast asleep and have a nice quiet night.
¿Y qué piensas con esta novedad? Una noticia del momento.
We don't know what we're going to do. The only thing we can say is that some of the presents which we know are coming from the family will be big hampers, big baskets of food. So we will sit down and eat the food all on our own. Eso es muy difícil. This is very difficult. I was talking to somebody today about the value of a life, and because there are people who are having to calculate in the economy what a life is worth, they are using the basic number at a human life is worth £1.5 million. That's what they say. But there are other people who would think, Mr. Trump, for example, must think that his life is worth a lot more. I don't. I think his life is worth very little. The background question to this one is, what am I alive for? Why am I living? What am I for? If I think it is good to have been me, then I can die happily. If I think it is not good to have been me, you've got a problem. So the question which the COVID challenges us with, especially the older people, is, do you think the world is worth having had you around for 85, 89, 90, 100 years? and you can only answer that for yourself. But pienso que I think that I would not wish a death from the virus on anyone. It is horrid. It is horrible. I would hope that the death would be simpler. But the death from the virus is horrid. I cannot offer hope for that.
Mm-hmm.
La muerte del virus es horrible. Es horrible. No quiero que alguien morirá del virus. Es horrible. Pero si puede approach, how do you say approach? Apreciar.
Sí. Algo como empezar a hacer algo.
See, approach death calmly, then you can offer hope to other people. When you are facing death, the hope that matters is the hope for others, not for yourself.
Do you want to translate that yourself? I can.
Sí, cuando yo aparecer,
llegar
a mi muerte, no quiero tener esperanza para mí, solamente para mis hijos, mis hijas, mis nietos, mis nietas, etcétera, mis amigos, etcétera, etcétera. La esperanza es para nosotros. La más importante es que the most important thing is that the species will survive, not the individual. If you watch animals, though they will struggle for their own lives, they know that what matters is the species, not the individual animal. And if we spend too much time thinking about the individual and not enough about the health and well-being and future of the species, for some of us, it's time we went to make space for others.
Piensas
Not yet.
You won't allow it.
y crees que el ser humano, el human being, ha aprendido algo de la pandemia.
See. This is the human beings on the planet at the moment are having to learn one of the most important lessons for the last 500 years. Because on one hand, we are faced with something which might possibly kill us off, or we can protect ourselves against it. It's as important as nuclear weapons. And we have to think about it in that way. We have the capacity to survive and to thrive, or to kill ourselves off. This is a complicated question.
¿Tienes alguna pregunta más?
Sí. ¿Qué sentimiento tienes cuando te enteras que hay muchas compatriotas, gente de tu país, que ha muerto por el COVID?
But we have, you ask, what do I feel about the people who have died?
Yeah.
We have 60,000 people who have died. I am sad. I am sad for them. I'm sad for their friends, their relations, their mothers, their fathers, their children, their grandchildren. I'm sad for them. But I don't want to be overwhelmed by sadness. I say, what can we learn from this? The distinctive thing about human beings is that we are learning beings. we can learn. And we need not to say how do we defend ourselves, but how do we learn? That's what we're for. That's what makes us different from the other animals.
News at 4 o'clock. We're all in lockdown 4. Christmas has been cancelled.
Okay.
You can only
Frank-
meet one
Frank-
person. We can't go to Q. The
No.
Sheards can't go to the Rosses.
Yeah, okay.
etc.
Y tú puedes contar lo que acaba de decir tu...
Yes, we have been. My wife has just told us that Christmas is cancelled, and we have to stay at home and have Christmas alone. Well, we are being asked to face what are we on this earth for? Why are we here?
Él nació, he's born to 1945. ¿Tú has nacido en qué año?
You were born in 30...
1936.
30. Ah, like my father.
Okay.
Ah.
Tenías 8 años, 9 años, cuando fue la Segunda Guerra Mundial.
So you
The
were,
Second
Sí,
War.
sí.
you were born a couple of years before.
¿Y crees que todo esto que está viviendo el mundo se parece en algo?
And you asked me my experience of the war. The world was divided into two sides. There were the fascists and the Nazis, and there were all the good people. And we knew where the enemy was. I grew up in India, and the enemy for me in India was the Japanese, because they were trying to invade India. Here it was the Germans and the Italians and some of the Spaniards. So the difference now is the enemy is invisible. You can't bomb the virus because the virus gets around. So we have to look at ourselves much more as the people who cause these problems by the decisions we make, how we believe we are all human beings the same, or whether there are those people who must be killed and these people who must be saved. Mr. Trump believes that everybody who is like him, who is white, wealthy, and able to do what he likes, must be preserved against all the other people who are black, Latinos, and so on. They must be got rid of. And it's that capacity to feel we are all human beings together. We must learn our lessons together, not look for an enemy to attack over there. The enemy is always inside here, not out there. Start with the enemy within, and then you can decide whether the enemy is out there. And if the enemy is a virus, you use science to deal with it. In the war, the Allies, the British, the Americans, the Canadians, the New Zealanders, and so on, used science to make a bomb that could destroy everybody. But the problem where the fight has to be is in here. The enemy always starts in here, not push it out there and attack it over there.
How can we come together to fight an invisible enemy?
We look for the people who will lead us in learning how to live together and value each other. So when I see my grandson, I see a bit of me. I see you, I see a bit of me. I have my memories of South America, living in Venezuela. I hear your language, and I see you, and I look for how can I love you rather than say that you're different from me. And that's we need a philosophy, a religion, a faith, which enables us to see everybody, not just us and them. At the present moment, the most important person in the world is the Pope, because he is arguing we need to learn to love one another. You know, Pope Francis is the best Pope we've had, and he's Argentinian. He's the best Pope we've had for... Keep still.
I can't.
You have a little more time and we continue this interview?
If you want.
I want. I remember the films. With these pictures, I remember the films in my life. You are beautiful grandfather. Thank you
The
very
perfect
Well, thank
character
you.
for the documentary.
He's my teacher.
much. Please.
Sorry.
¿Crees que la salud
See?
puede ser un negocio?
My experience of the war. In the war, the world was divided into two sides. There were the fascists and the Nazis, and there were all the good people. And we knew where the enemy was. I grew up in India, and the enemy for me in India was the Japanese, because they were trying to invade India. Here it was the Germans and the Italians and some of the Spaniards. So the difference now is the enemy is invisible. You can't bomb the virus because the virus gets around. So we have to look at ourselves much more as the people who cause these problems by the decisions we make, how we believe we are all human beings the same, or whether there are those people who must be killed and these people who must be saved. Mr. Trump believes that everybody who is like him, who is white, wealthy, and able to do what he likes, must be preserved against all the other people who are black, Latinos, and so on. They must be got rid of. And it's that capacity to feel we are all human beings together. We must learn our lessons together, not look for an enemy to attack over there. The enemy is always inside here, not out there. Start with the enemy within, and then you can decide whether the enemy is out there. And if the enemy is a virus, you use science to deal with it. In the war, the Allies, the British, the Americans, the Canadians, the New Zealanders, and so on, used science to make a bomb that could destroy everybody. But the problem where the fight has to be is in here. The enemy always starts in here, not push it out there and attack it over there.
¿Cómo podemos luchar todos juntos contra este enemigo invisible?
How can we come together to fight an invisible enemy?
We look for the people who will lead us in learning how to live together and value each other. So when I see my grandson, I see a bit of me. I see you, I see a bit of me. I have my memories of South America, living in Venezuela. I hear your language, and I see you, and I look for how can I love you rather than say that you're different from me. And that's we need a philosophy, a religion, a faith, which enables us to see everybody, not just us and them.
And with your
¿Crees que la salud
Sí.
puede ser un negocio?
Entiendo. Yes, health is a business, but not an economic business. In this country, Tony Blair, our Prime Minister, decided to run the National Health Service as if it were a business. So it was like an oil company, each specialized in their own things, and you had to you give a doctor so many £1,000 a year for every patient, and you work it out as if you were a sort of supply and building the thing up and then selling the service on. But health is not like that. Neither is education. These are human activities. The growth, the greater health, the greater well-being doesn't come by splitting everything up and keeping them apart. It's about identifying how these different parts fit together. Our life is like a jigsaw. You know, jigsaw puzzle? Mm-hmm. Every piece of the puzzle is unique, but it means nothing on its own. It's not until you put all the pieces together that you see the big picture. And these people who think that the health and education and social support can be dealt with as if each thing was a little pile of money turns the whole picture, the jigsaw picture, into a spreadsheet. But we are not parts of a spreadsheet. We're part of something which is living and growing and expanding and contracting, and we live by negotiation, not by fighting each other. There may be things we have to fight about, but that's so that we can then find a new level at which we engage. So we find the bigger picture of which we are a part. Now, this is not a new idea, because the great emperor of Rome in 500 years before Christ, BC, called Marcus Aurelius, argued we have to be thinking about the cosmos. That is what matters, not the little detail, setting bits against each other. How is everything a part of the cosmos? And that is the challenge, to learn. What bit of the cosmos are you, am I? And how does that make the bigger picture? You know, there's a star up there, there's another one over there, the sky. We are all angel dust. We are angel dust because we're made of the same stuff. And we're learning how we're connected.
Lo estoy dando todo, amigo.
It's the best interview.
I said he's very interesting.
No, it's the
Muy
best.
interesado.
¿Qué sueñas
Sí.
para la humanidad después del COVID? ¿Recuerda cuando terminó la guerra?
This is a good question. Good question. My dreams for the future are that we will come out of this crisis realizing that money is simply a measure of how we can thrive, how we can live well. At the moment, a man called Mark Carney, who was the chief executive of the Bank of England, the most senior economic minister in this country, he is giving lectures about his experience as the director of the Bank of England. And he is saying, the trouble is that the financiers, the bankers, the economists have lost the point of the moral dimension of what they're doing. In the end, what matters is the moral quality of what we're doing, which is, what am I doing so that you can thrive, so that your life will be better? Now, I saw him on television when he was in a panel for the International Monetary Fund, and he, Christine Lagarde, who was then director of the IMF, a Singaporean banker and a Swiss banker were all saying that the crisis of 2008 was caused because the financiers had lost their moral compass. We are still looking for the moral compass now in every single leader. The Pope, in his little book, which he has, I'll show it to you.
Where is it?
I've just got it on here.
Creo que cayó el sticker.
His thinking about how we should be considering the virus. How we should think about it as a great opportunity to learn to live and work together rather than to fight with each other.
Maybe
This is an important Argentinian man.
I remember the films with these pictures. I remember the films in my life. You are beautiful grandfather. Thank you very much.
Character for the documentary.
At their expense to go to Argentina and they will set up a big
Please come to Argentina and make and barbecue.
And wine.
Las manos de ellos.
and wine, of course. Yes.